call the meeting to order. Obviously, I'm not Brad Monts, but Dan will point me in
Recording
the
in
right
progress.
direction. So the first item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes from the last meeting.
Move to approve.
Do you have a motion approved? Do we have a
Second.
second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next, under new business, I believe Dan's going to talk to us about approving the taxpayer agreement adjustment for new core towers and structures.
Yes, this resolution 2026-2 is a resolution approving the Nucor Towers taxpayer agreement. As I reported to you last time, we worked with Nucor Towers and Structures to finalize that agreement. You have it attached to your resolution now. Nucor requested that they, one modification, and that was that if they paid more in taxes than the bond obligation, that would roll over to the next year in case there was a change in their taxes, which we would not anticipate, but we accepted that change, and the parties are in agreement now to this. Nucor Towers has approved the agreement and signed. You will need to approve it today, and then we also need to get the county commissioners to approve it as well. And as you'll recall, the purpose of this agreement is to say that if there's a change in the law or a change in circumstances which would take their tax payments annually to the TIF below the amount required to service the water bond, that they would make up that difference. And that's what this agreement is all about. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So this, and I haven't read this whole thing through, but we're going to agree that if there's a dollar over the amount that it takes to pay the bond, that they get that credit going forward. And is that for the total length of the bond?
It is.
So we would hold that basically in escrow.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Until the bond is fully paid, and then.
Well, it's an accounting thing, because obviously the auditor is going to, and the treasurer, they're going to take those taxes and they're going to use them. So we don't hold the money, but we're going to give them an accounting.
Well, they get the credit.
They get a credit on just like a ledger.
But it's only a credit if there's a shortfall later. It's not going to reduce the amount
Correct.
that they.
It does not reduce the amount they pay, and it does not, it just would go toward, if the law changed in the next year, there were no property taxes, for example, and they have to fund the full bill. Instead of, they would say, look, you've already received too much, and so we're going to pay the difference. That's how it would work.
You get interest on that?
No interest on that, no. There's no interest either way. There is an interest charge if they don't make their deficit payment in a timely manner, however.
Are you saying that the treasurer don't get to invest that?
No, the treasurer gets the money and they can do with it whatever they want to do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we might earn interest on the money, but it's not like we have to pay Nucor interest for holding their money, because it's their tax obligation is what they're paying. They owe that money.
Any other discussion or questions for Dan? Yeah, do we have a motion to
I move that
approve?
we approve this resolution number 2026-2.
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion pass. The next on the agenda is the 2025 annual report for RDC.
I sent up to you a draft of the annual report, but also a colorful spreadsheet of the different allocation areas, and I think this kind of goes to Chris's first conversation about funds. You know, which funds on that ledger tie to which allocation areas. So this will show you the yellow funds tie to the original new core TIF area. That's kind of your parent legacy TIF. Then you've got the temper TIFs in green. And of course, they have multiple funds because to do those projects, we had 3 different bond issues to complete the temper project. One was the incentive to temper, one was the taxable portion of the projects to temper that included the water projects, and they were taxable because Indiana American Water is a for-profit entity. And then you had tax exempt bonds as well that paid for the sewer, the road, and I believe the rail section. So, and then in the purple, you've got new core 2023's allocation area. In 2023, you as a group went in and purged out a whole lot of parcels that were decrement parcels, where over time, the increment had been completely wiped out and they were dragging down the increment for your other area. So you purged those out, reestablished a base, and those are in the purple amount. And of course, what we'll be adding to this is the new core towers, new core coatings. All those things are starting to produce revenue. New core coatings, we learned this week, although the project and the building itself will not be on the tax rolls until 26, pay 27, Nucor bought $250 million of personal property for that line and had it on site. So 10% of it is actually taxable for pay 26. So you're going to see some money that comes in 26. And what we're going to use that for is to start to make the interest payments for the bonds that you're going to issue this summer for the Nucor Road overpass. But again, the purple lays out, or the colored spreadsheet lays out the different allocation areas. And then the annual report, this is the data that, again, you have to provide to put into the electronic format for the DLGF's reporting, which is due by April the 15th. You also have an obligation to deliver an annual report by April 15th to the executive and the fiscal body, and to present the annual report to the fiscal body. So we've put that together as in previous years for you. I believe it has all the data that you've seen previously, and be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I know there's a lot of data there.
Do we have any questions on the annual report?
You'll just need a motion to approve then, and then Mr. Monts will be able to explain it to the county council.
Do we have a motion to approve? Second? Second, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. And then next, moving on to the staff reports. Jeff, do you have a financial report other than what you just went over?
Just that, I did want to, as I talked to you about, we're actually going to see money from Nucor Coatings this year, which we didn't think we would see. In the county's in the process of getting together tax billings. So that quarterly report for the first quarter, we'll update that based on what we believe are the actual tax billings. As that new data comes out throughout the year, we try and get that to you so you know what it is to expect and any changes that have occurred. We did complete a legislative session, haven't been through all the legislation as to what its impacts are, but have seen some impacts in other counties to TIF areas of the 2025 legislation. Still trying to digest that and flesh it out, and we'll report back to you as we find out more about that as well.
Okay, and just for clarification, that 10%, that's just the property tax law, CIP, and in construction, that's the way it works. You're just bringing it up because it's such a large amount that is sitting there.
The 10% of,
The 250 million that Nucor invested.
yes, that is.
That's just part of the property
Yeah, under
tax.
normal property tax
Yep.
law, if you
Just-
have business personal property that is not yet installed,
Yep.
but you have purchased it and it's on site, 10% of that amount is taxable.
Yeah, I was just clarifying that for
Otherwise, yeah,
everyone so they understood what
otherwise
you
it
were
would be
saying.
taxable at a higher amount. And once they install it and begin to use it for production,
goes into
it will have a higher value, but it depreciates off pretty quickly. And in the scenario of that being a steel plant, it will depreciate back down to 10%. But again, we've looked at all those, and we'll walk through those numbers further as we do the financials for the bond issue for the Nucor Road overpass.
All right, thank you.
SEA one, was that, at what point will that be under the personal property tax amount?
Because of their value and them being a steel plant, they have a different pool that they apply to. So they're kind of outside those general rules of SEA one.
All right, any other questions for Jeff?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I guess next we did move on to the engineering report. Is Ryan here? No. Okay. Okay. So I assume just move on to Cheryl and the economic development report.
Good morning. So since your last meeting, the business attraction leads that we received, there were 8 of them. And again, it's usually requests of inventory type that we don't have, smaller parcels of land or existing buildings, which we just do not have. We have just one so far that is for sale that has no interest in it right now, but it's much smaller and it's got a much smaller ceiling height, so it's not the typical kind of building that you would see for a larger manufacturer. So we'll continue to monitor what's going on and trending so that at some point, if we wanted to, down the road, talk about the idea of maybe a spec building that the Redevelopment Commission would be in charge of, we can do that. And that's really one of the reasons why I track the kinds of leads that we get so that we can trend and see what the sweet spot is, especially when we're looking at leads for existing buildings. On the existing business front, last year when we did our annual business meetings with all of our manufacturers, a theme that arose from our smallest of manufacturers, so those that have less than 25 employees, was a desire for them to get together and network just among themselves. While they have some of the same issues that a Nucor or a Lakeside has operationally, those organizations are so much larger. They've got lots of staff to handle different issues and different challenges. Whereas if you're an employer of 25 people or less and you're the owner, you're wearing those hats. And so is somebody else in your employ. So we are launching next month this small manufacturers roundtable. And we were looking at issues that especially seem to target or impact the smaller manufacturers more, and that's cybersecurity. A lot of these manufacturers are bringing in new technology, but what they aren't doing is looking at the security side of that because they don't have somebody that specializes in it in their workforce. And so we're bringing in a gentleman from Purdue. He is a national expert in cybersecurity, and he is part of the technical assistance program at Purdue. So he is actually the cyber TAP expert, and he'll be our guest speaker. And what's great about that is because he's part of the technical assistance program, there are so many hours that any of these small manufacturers, if they wanted to utilize him to just come in and kind of provide some counsel on, look through my operations, I've got these 2 pieces of automated equipment, how can we make sure we're kind of locked down from a cyber perspective, he can do that for free. So I'm really excited to have him come in because, as I said, he's pretty well known all across the country. So that's what's going on with that. We have already identified our target list for our headquarters visits this year, and we have added Cargill. So we'll be reaching out to those companies yet this month because it takes, as you can imagine, it takes a month or two to try to get a date locked in. So I just wanted you to be aware that we try to be mindful and include companies in the unincorporated area. Last year it was Temper and it was Nucor. So this year, because of Cargill's expansion, and they're also just in Minnesota, that won't be a big haul to get there. Our March Workforce Alliance meeting is going to be canceled because it falls during spring break, and as you know, this community, there's a mass exodus when there's spring break. So we weren't able to move it forward a week for a lot of reasons, so we have just decided to cancel it, so there is no workforce meeting. And then finally, I had told you that CSX had reached out to us to do the Select Sites program. We are looking at hopefully the end of this month, and I don't have a date yet, but I will let you all know, to do that public announcement. We have finalized the plaque, so we will be getting a plaque for the Wiley Connell Site 1, which is going to be that premier site that's going to be highlighted on their Select Sites area of their website and pushed out all across the country. So we'll keep you posted on when we're going to do that, because it would be really nice if we can have kind of a community gathering. This is a big deal because this will gain a lot of exposure for that particular site. It's rail served, and those are becoming fewer and far between. So anything we can do to help that, we want to. And then finally, all of your sites that are in the unincorporated area that are either, well, they're land that are ready to go, we have rebranded everything and redone all of the aerials. So everything is up and it's refreshed data. So I just wanted you to be aware because that funnels up into the state's sites and buildings database. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Okay, any questions?
Okay,
All right, thank you. And next, we have Dan with any legal report for us.
Yes, I can report to you that the Nucor Towers abatement final approvals were today. And so the council took that action this morning, and that is all done now. And the Nucor coatings, the first step for that was today. The council passed its declaratory resolution, so there'll be a public hearing and final approval on that abatement at the April meeting. I have begun the perilous task of, like Jeff, of reading new bills, and so that was a fun weekend I had, but I'll bring that report to you. No major changes for RDCs, I think, in my opinion, but I'll bring that summary to you next month. In April, looking ahead just a little bit, we're going to be getting busy. So in April, we're going to talk a little bit about our ongoing and continuing obligations under the water bond, like what do we have to do this year to stay compliant, and I'll be giving that to you. Also, I expect to bring to you the Nucor Coatings taxpayer agreement for approval. We've been working on that with them. They're great to work with. And then we'll begin discussion in a little more detail of the structure of the Nucor Bridge bond, as Jeff mentioned. And then looking to May, your first actions to start the bond process forward on the bridge bond will take place in May. And then also you'll need to make your annual determination regarding excess assessed valuation that you do every year. And we expect that the answer to that will be we have no excess assessed valuation. We're using it for all these projects. But so as you're looking ahead, April, May should be a little busy. June, then we'll settle down a little bit, but those bonds will heat up this summer for the bridge. And it all looks to be in order, and Jeff and Lisa Lee are doing a great job for us, but expect that in April and May.
All right, thank you. And not on the agenda, but I see Mindy's here, so I probably should ask if she has a treasurer's report to go over at this point.
I don't really have, sorry. Mindy Byers, Auditor. I handed you all a report, still not a lot of activity yet for the year, so if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer it. That's all I have.
Any questions for Mindy? Thank you. And then I think the next order would be to approve the claims. There was, I believe, one added from the list that got emailed out, and that was the last one for the demolition of the house for the bridge project, the $20,370 at the bottom. Then I'm not sure procedurally, do we go through each one of those, or do we just ask for questions and then
Ask for questions. You can
approve as a whole?
together or keep
Okay.
them individually, whatever you'd like.
Okay, one question I have, just clarification on that house, is I assume that's something, that's not a surprise, that was part of the budget, or how?
Yeah, that is, there was a house right at the base of the hill on the north side, and so, yeah, it was the Phillips home, so the county acquired that home by eminent domain and then demoed it because it's, obviously, the road will be right there.
Sure.
So that was all what we expected, yes.
Okay,
You've done a nice job, too. I've been by there.
great. Any other questions or comments on any of the items?
BCS, is that an ongoing thing? I mean, is it gonna come to an end? I don't know. We got a contract with them?
You do, you have a contract, they do your website a little bit, but,
No, she does it.
what do they do?
The cities are going on their website.
Well, what does BCS do?
Yes, actually, they do management for the RDC, and that has stepped back tremendously, and it's, up to the RDC if they're going to have them, instruct them anything else to do, but that cut way back per the last group's decision. Does that make sense? No?
Yeah, you might remember Ron recommended that you guys limit what they were doing at some point in time, and you do have a contract with them. You should look into that. In the fall, you should look into what you want them to do going forward. But it's a year-to-year thing.
Because it says it's website management.
For February.
question.
So I guess a follow-up to that, do they have, are they taking direction from us, or do they have stuff laid out with the contract where we'll?
I just want to speak to the website. So the decision was made last year to cease that portion of the contract, and that because the city has the economic development website for all of Montgomery County, that we would migrate that data. So, and BCS had asked that we get that done by the end of the year because she wanted to give you your last invoice in January.
Okay.
So I can't speak about the invoicing, but
The end of last year, just for clarification, when you say by the end
yes,
of the year? Okay.
that we needed to have it done by the end of December, so that January would be your last bill for the website management portion of your contract. We did meet that deadline, so that was all done and migrated over at the end of December, actually before the end of December. So, yeah.
Actually, on the claims, Chris, if you look at that next page, that you're looking for BCS invoice,
Mhm.
that, the very next page from that,
Yep.
is an explanation of what they did for their $56.25.
Yeah, and it kind of even says here, it's a monthly service, that fee, that's part of it.
Look at the, that's what I'm wondering if it's a residual. We can check in with them and make
Okay.
sure that that's the income, that's the request.
Okay. Thank you.
That being said, I would move to approve the payment of $70,657.60 for the claims for March.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. And then on other business, I know we have Alex from Lockmuller here to talk about some change orders. Welcome to come on up.
Since this is not on your agenda, I would think what you should do is have a motion to suspend your rules to add this to the agenda and vote on any change order.
That's exactly what I meant to say, so.
I make a motion, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules for the change orders and to vote on them.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay, so what I handed out is change order 3 for the Newcore Road Water Main Extension Project. This is an overall decrease in contract price. It includes hydrant risers, T-posts, and a reduction in the railroad allowance item for a total contract price decrease of $67,014.65. Are there any questions about what's included?
I don't remember Ryan ever bringing a decrease. Alex, can you come back every time?
I was getting ready to say that.
Any questions or discussions?
So we need to vote on accepting this?
Someone want to make a motion to accept?
Right, yeah, so we'll have the final pay application from Great X at the next meeting. They weren't able to get that without the fully executed change order, but that'll be the next one.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept the change order.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
So,
And Brad Monts. Just saying. Oh, sure. Over here. All right, with that, any other business that anyone has that we need to consider? If not, and someone will make a motion for adjournment? Second?